Sia the Wild One along with Florida. My guest of the day is on the phone.
94.3.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishi K.
It's my CEO's Working From Home series. Today, the young Turk of New Age Ayurveda, Arjun Vaidya, CEO at Dr. Vaidyas New Age Ayurveda, is on the telephone line. Hi Arjun, I hope friends, family, extended family are all safe in this time of crisis.
Hi Rishi, great to be on the show. Absolutely, everyone doing great.
Arjun, I want to start with this 150-year legacy that you have of Ayurvedic formulations. And this started with your grandfather. It must have been a very interesting childhood and adolescent period. Talk to me about the past.
Absolutely, Rishi. So, Vaidya, my last name actually means Ayurvedic doctor, and we have a legacy of 150 years of Ayurveda in my family. 3 generations before my grandfather also we can trace as Ayurvedic doctors. So childhood was about growing up with Ayurveda. For me personally, it was a really big part of my life because I grew up with juvenile bronchitis. So I started suffering from asthma at the age of 2, and it was a pretty serious bout of asthma. I had pumps, nebulizers, steroids all through my childhood. And at that time, my grandfather took it upon himself to use Ayurveda to cure this sort of long-term chronic ailment from me. I spent my childhood having various mixtures of herbs, syrups, and medicines to get over asthma. I was that kid who couldn't have the colored drinks, the cakes, the ice creams growing up. I had my first sip of Coca-Cola when I was 12 years old. So I really suffered growing up as a child. I wasn't able to play cricket because there was too much dust on the cricket field. But by the age of 14, after sort of painstaking treatment from my grandfather, I was completely cured of asthma. So I grew up a believer in Ayurveda. I was the one in our family who actually transcribed our family's Ayurvedic formulations with my grandfather from the scriptures onto the computer and sort of helped him digitize this. And so more than just being from an Ayurvedic family, my personal experience made me closer to my grandfather and closer to the family's tradition of Ayurveda as well.
That's amazing. So let me get this straight. Your grandfather had an Ayurvedic clinic, and now your responsibility was to make it a full-fledged brand and also to try and make Ayurveda, for the lack of any other word, quote-unquote, cooler. So how did you go about that?
As I said, my family's been in Ayurveda for a long time. My grandfather ran a very successful clinic. He had 300 to 350 patients a day coming into his clinic, had 12,000 patients trying to him via post on a monthly basis, but he was a doctor. He didn't really care for sales, distribution, marketing strategy, didn't really want to or care for building a brand. I left India at the age of 7, studied at a place called Brown, but my experiences on the East Coast of the US actually taught me a lot about the way I look at the world. So I saw a move towards natural and organic products. I also saw yoga being completely repackaged, and this was really interesting for me. I saw yoga mats, yoga pants, yoga gyms, yoga apparel, and a multi-billion-dollar industry created in the United States, taking traditional Indian wisdom and repackaging it to make it sort of appealing to modern consumers. That got me thinking that if we have this rich Ayurveda legacy, why can't we do something similar with that? Came back to India when I was about 21 in 2013. I worked in private equity for 3 years at a fund called L Capital Asia, the private equity arm of the Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy Group, specifically focused on the consumer sector, and spent a lot of time understanding the Indian consumer, the Indian consumer's mindset, the way the consumer works, and saw changes in this mindset. I grew up in an India obsessed with imported products, but I came back to an India which was happy to consume quintessentially Indian products. There was an Ayurveda renaissance going on at the time as well. New government Ministry of Ayush created, consumers excited about Ayurveda, and unfortunately my grandfather passed in this time period. So we had this rich Ayurveda legacy. I always had this thought that I wanted to make Ayurveda appealing and accessible to modern consumers. And so in October 2016, I quit my job. I named the brand after my grandfather. So I named our brand Dr. Vaidya's New Age Ayurveda as a tribute to him. I said I wanted to make an Ayurvedic products brand that makes our science appealing and accessible to modern consumers. That was the premise behind launching the brand. We've launched 50 products over the last 3 years, including products like HerboFit, which makes Chyawanprash into a capsule form. We've launched Chyawanprash toffees for kids called Chakash. We even launched an Ayurvedic hangover product called Live It Up. The idea that take 150 years of family wisdom and ancient Indian science, use the power of digital and make it appealing to modern consumers and truly make Ayurveda, I used to say, cool, sexy, fun and aspirational.
That's the story. Morning Glory. Arjun Vaidya, CEO Dr. Vaidya's New Age Ayurveda, is my CEO's Working From Home series guest. More up ahead for now. Here's Share and Song for the Lonely. That's them One Directioners with Steal My Girl. Arjun Vaidya, the young dynamic CEO of Dr. Vaidya's New Age Ayurveda, is my guest of the day on my CEO's Working From Home series. More chat.
94.3.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishi K.
Now, we know we're going through a crisis today. As far as Dr. Vaidyas is concerned, what are the COVID-19 activities? The good news is that I believe the industry itself, the Ayurveda industry, is dialoguing with the ministry. There's a lot of support at that level. But how are your employees doing, and how's the reaction been to this particular crisis?
So I think, Rishi, you said it very, very well. These are unprecedented times. It's something that none of us could have imagined. So it's tough on everyone. Veda is trying to do its bit to help people as much as we can. So the Prime Minister has come out and spoken about various precautionary Ayurvedic measures that you can take. Keep your body immunized. As an industry, we are also doing our bit to huddle up together and see ways that we can help people. I'll talk to you about what we are doing as a brand. So first, Ayurveda for Dr. Vaidyas is deeply rooted in the power of digital. We offer free consultations to consumers across India. So anyone in any part of India can call our hotline today and have a consultation with an Ayurvedic doctor, which I think is really important to reassure people who may not be able to go to clinics and hospitals. The other thing we're doing is, while most businesses cannot be operational in this time, we've worked with the local governments and the local authorities to be able to operationalize our business to whatever way we can. We're obviously sticking to all the safety precautions that are required, but our manufacturing facility in Silvassa is running at 30% capacity, and our head office in Bombay and our warehouse is running at 7 out of 80 people, just the people who live closest to our office, with the main objective to dispatch to people their Ayurvedic medicine as much as we can. So I myself am actually unpacking, labeling, packing boxes, getting into tempo, putting the goods into the tempo just so that people get their Ayurvedic medicine. We're ensuring that everyone in our office is wearing the N95 mask, everyone is wearing the gloves, all orders are sanitized. But in these times of need, we need to ensure that people get their Ayurvedic medicine, and we're getting that support from the government as well. There was a notification from the Ministry of Ayush and from the Prime Minister that Ayurvedic companies should try their best to stay operational, provide people products for immunity, but also manufacture sanitizers, because it does help that there is a shortage of sanitizers. So at Dr. Vaidyas, we got a license to manufacture sanitizers 3 or 4 days before the lockdown. We're manufacturing sanitizers at the controlled price that the government has stipulated, and trying to reduce the supply gap as well and provide as much as we can to people in these times of need. If you talk about team, to be honest, it's been a challenge, but we've sort of figured out the way to move completely to work from home for a team that's never done it before. I think the first few days we had teething problems, but we're trying our best to make the most of this time. I keep telling our team, and I think I keep thinking this as well, in this time, it's not about business, it's not about sales, it's about helping people as much as we can, keeping our consumers and our patrons reassured, trying to get as much content and knowledge out as we can. We've come up with a coronavirus or Ayurveda and COVID-19 section on our website with easy to do blogs of things you can do at home, foods you should eat, things to do to stay immunized, take care of senior citizens, coming up with a lot of content to help people get rid of the anxiety and bust the myths, because there are many myths floating around about this, and really keep people reassured at this time. That's really important.
Reassure your employees. Now, that's a tip that all leaders from corporate India could use and should use. More up ahead with the man behind Livayu, Live It Up, and Chakash, Arjun Vaidya Ceo Dr. Vaidyas. Check out Blue now. It's One Love. Only on 94.3 Radio 1 One World, your station. I'm Hrishi K. Sia never gives up, and that's perhaps the recipe for her resounding success. Extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures, and my CEOs Working From Home series is all about that. These leaders marshalling their forces. Arjun Vaidya Ceo Dr. Vaidyas Ayurveda is on the program. More conversation.
94.3. This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishi K.
So what's your daily timetable now that you're working from home, and technically, even though you're hands-on doing a lot of packing and unpacking, the focus has really shifted out of working wherever you are. So is there a timetable, or do you just go with the flow, Arjun?
No, so we have a daily timetable. The way it's working, and sort of things are a little bit fluid, but the way it's working is I end up waking up at 8:30, do a little bit of emails in the morning, but then get ready and go to the office by 10. From 10 to about 2:30 or 3, where actually the 7 of us spending time on dispatching and packing orders. That's 5 hours of the day that goes with that. Come home, shower, ensure I eat, and then get back into scheduled calls. So we spend a lot of time with both existing teams as well as our partners, our vendors, our clients, planning for the future. So what I've told our team and the way we're looking at this time period is, although it can be looked at very negatively, we're taking as much positive as we can out of it, and we're using this time to plan for the future. So can we improve our customer experience on our website? Can we we improve our relationships with our existing vendors and partners? Can we analyze what happened over the last 6 months? Because being in a startup, there are times when you're just doing so many things you can't look back. So can we analyze what we've done over the last 6 months? Can we spend time listening to consumer calls ourselves and listening to consumers call on the phone and pick up the phone and talk to consumers to understand what their problems are? So in this time, really, it gives you a lot of time to step back, think and plan, and we're using that time to do that. Working on longer term projects that we had shelved because we didn't have time to do, I think that's really what we're doing. So it's half the day in sort of physically, operationally packing the orders, and the rest of the half of the day in review calls, in project planning, in meeting planning, and looking forward, because whenever this is, and we don't know when this will pass, but whenever this passes, as a brand, as a company, we have to be ready to face what's in front of us and also come out of this stronger.
Your favorite business leaders, who would they be? Captains of the industry who have inspired you, Arjun, and give me the reason why you picked them.
Sure. So I think now more than any other time, I mean, he did amazing work at Microsoft, but I just watched the Bill Gates documentary on Netflix, Inside Bill's Brain, and what he says and what he's done outside of the workplace as well, his work he's doing with sort of pandemic in general, but also for social good. I think Bill Gates is an absolute inspiration to me. Another person who's had a sort of very deep impact in my life, and he's not in the business world, I'm a huge cricket fan, and Sachin has been extremely inspirational for me growing up because he had the burden of 1 billion people. And as entrepreneurs, you have the burden of your whole team. It's not a burden, but you're responsible for a large group of people, whether it's the people who work in your team, whether it's your customers, whether it's your vendors, whether it's your partners. You have thousands of people who are sort of dependent on the business, and carrying this burden, I think there's no one in the world, in my lifetime at least, who's carried that burden better than Sachin. So he's a huge inspiration for me. And then my father and my grandfather, I think closer to home. My grandfather, because of the amazing things he taught me about Ayurveda, about his organizational skills. And my father is not in the Ayurveda business, actually. He runs a successful business in the jewelry and watch space. But being a young entrepreneur and sort of facing new things in terms of production, in terms of a growing business, and sort of leaning on his 35 years of experience, for me, that's really, really inspirational and close to home as well. We talk every day. I bounce ideas off him every day. Problems we're facing, which he may have seen in his business in sort of previous years as well. So I think these are the people I look up to. I mean, there are a lot of them, but these are the 4 names that come to my mind.
So are you able to read at all, or does work keep you so busy? And if not now, in the past, any favorite books that you could share with our listeners to add to our reading list?
So I think for now, I thought I could use this time to catch up on a lot of reading, but I've not had the chance to read as much. Given that I'm spending a lot of time reading short articles, as an entrepreneur, you want to read everything, but you may not have the time. So I have this note that I keep on my phone of all articles to read. I'm slowly getting through those hundreds of articles that I've archived over the last 6 months. From a book perspective, I think there's one book called The Purple Cow. It's a book on disruptive marketing and building brands by Seth Godin that I have gifted to at least 40 people. I absolutely love the book and highly recommend that book. I'm also a huge documentary buff, and I'm spending this time watching all the documentaries that I had archived to watch, from Formula One, Drive to Survive, to Tiger King. I just love documentaries because if I don't have as much time to read before sort of going to bed, if there's a documentary I can watch, I love that. So I've been watching a lot of documentaries in this time as well.
Self-growth never stops. That's great to know. Last leg of conversation with Arjun Vaidya, CEO Dr. Vaidyas, up ahead. Enjoy some Wanted. This is Chasing the Sun. I'm Hrishi K on 94.3 Radio 1 One World, your station. Lovely one by Matchbox 20. The groovy vocals of Rob Thomas wafting through the airwaves. If You're Gone. On my CEO's Working From Home series, Arjun Vaidya, CEO Dr. Vaidyas. He's taking the traditional science of Ayurveda to the 21st century. The first Ayurvedic entrepreneur to be featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia list for 2019 and BW 40 Under 40 list. A last leg of conversation.
94.3. This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishi K.
So I know we're a long way away from being able to travel anywhere, but just in the hope of a better tomorrow, a favorite travel destination, someplace you went to and say, Arjun, I could live here.
So I'll talk about something which is closer to home, because somewhere that we may be able to go sooner to rather than later, and then somewhere further. So I think for me, my grandfather had bought some land ages ago in Alibag, and then eventually my father built a home there. I've grown up in Alibag. It's a place that I've spent a lot of time growing up and still spend a lot of time sort of unwinding, thinking, etc. And that's a place I can see closer on the horizon that we'll be able to go to. So Alibag is definitely my sort of monthly unwind destination. If you talk about somewhere which I absolutely love, I think very boring and sort of cliched, but I love London. I had actually planned to go there this July. I'm a big football fan as well, and I'd got tickets for the semi-finals and finals of the Euros. Both of those are cancelled, but I absolutely love London. It's just a great blend of history, culture, and big city for me, and also sort of a place where you can access the rest of Europe. So I'm waiting to go for my holiday to London whenever I can.
A gig that you've been to, like a music concert that, you were in the audience and it just blew your mind. Share that with us, please.
I'm not a huge gig person, to be honest, but I think going to Global Citizen was amazing because I'm a huge Coldplay fan. I've watched a lot of their gigs on video, on TV, etc. But going to Global Citizen and seeing Chris Martin live was an amazing experience for me.
Arjun, what we're also doing before we wrap is talking about campus days, and life for you on campus must have been really exciting. You graduated from Brown University in the US, and you got yourself a bachelor's in international relations and economics. That's just before you worked in that private equity firm that you talked about in the beginning of this interview. So days at Brown is what we're going to sign off with.
I think by far, definitely the best 4 years of my life. I had good fortune of going to an amazing school where it's not just about academics. To me, it was about the relationships and bonds you've built. My parents say this to everyone they meet when people ask them what was so great about Brown and why are you all salespeople of this university. For me, it was these relationships that I built with people across the world that are still so strong. I got married 2 years ago and we had 75 friends of mine from outside of India, from Brown, who came to India to be a part of the wedding experience. And for everyone at that wedding as well, they were just wondering, who are these 75 people who are there in full energy through the entire wedding? For me, it was just that. It was about the people I met, the relationships I built, the things I learned outside the classroom. I mean, Brown's a great school, amazing professors, but just the bond you share over those 4 years is something which is unparalleled. I miss my friends. I don't know when I'll be able to see a lot of them because they're all over the world. But those 4 years at Brown, the relationships I built is something I will never forget and cherish all my life.
Arjun, this has been a special chat, and I hope everybody who heard this broadcast this morning on 94.3 Radio 1, and eventually the life of this interview shall continue online after we upload it. And for all the people who keep listening into it, they get to learn stuff from a young entrepreneur who's doing very well for himself. So before you go, just the website of Dr. Vaidyas, or somewhere apart from the website, which we want you to give out, somewhere they can follow you on. Are you on Twitter or Instagram, and where can one follow you?
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram at AB Vaidya. You can find Dr. Vaidyas on Facebook, Instagram, Quora, and also on our website. Our website is www.drvaidyas.com. Once you go on the website, you can also join a WhatsApp group where we'll give you daily tips on Ayurveda, non-salesy at all, just things you can practice at home to stay immunized, stay healthy in these difficult times.
Thanks very much. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Hrishi. Take care.
My CEO's Working From Home series shall be back tomorrow. And with that promise, I'm slipping in some Craig David. Here's Walking Away. Only on 94.3 Radio 1 One World, your station. My name is Hrishi K.